Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hello, Utah. Happy Wednesday. It's 3 o'clock. It's Wednesday. It's time to party. I'm Jeremiah Jensen, sitting next to the legend, Stevenson Sylvester.
Legend? I wouldn't say legend.
You're a legend in my eyes.
Oh, all right. I'll take that. I'll take that. That works for me.
You're the best, Sly. Sly filling in today for Alex Kirry. In fact, Sly's in for the rest of the week. So it's me and Alex for the rest of the week. Sorry, me and Alex.
Alex is out.
Napolis.
Alex is out.
Alex Napolis is behind the glass.
I got
running
an
the
idea.
show here.
Alex is out.
There's too many Alexes.
Alex Kirry is on vacation. So we're going to have some fun while he's gone. Right?
Is that Pop? That guy could take a vacation?
He found a way.
Who approved this?
We better keep that on the down low. Alex sick. Alex is very sick today. Alex has come down with some kind of bug. He's going to have to miss the rest of the week. So there I just covered for Alex. Maybe the cat's out of the bag. Maybe it's too late. Anyway, we'll try to fill in for him today. We got big shoes to fill because he's got big feet. Lots to discuss today. The Jazz play tonight, Sly. The Jazz are suddenly winning games they're not supposed to. It's hard to tank in the NBA these days.
In any
Everyone's
sport,
trying to do it.
Right? Like, I got friends that are Raiders fans, and they're so pissed off when they win a game.
How about the Giants?
Yeah.
Who would have had the number one pick, but they decided to beat the Colts.
Hey, Drew Lock, baby. If he's on the
Drew
roster
Lock wants
next
to
year,
get paid. Like, he doesn't care about that pick.
Does not care. You don't care about me. Why do I care about your pick that you're coming to replace me?
He wants to be their starting quarterback. He doesn't want him to draft Cam Ward.
Right. I don't know
Then
if
he's
he
out
wants
of a
to be
job.
a starting quarterback for them, but he wants to be a starting quarterback.
You know there's not many jobs available.
Right.
You take what you
right.
get in that league.
Those New York jobs,
They're hard.
I do not envy.
No.
I do not want those.
No. I'm trying to think in my mind. Eli Manning was able to weather it. But
How?
even then,
how?
he took a lot of heat too, and he was pretty good. I mean, he probably is going to get in the Hall of Fame based on his Super Bowl wins. I don't think his numbers stack up with a lot of the other guys.
He was 6 seeds in both of those, wasn't he?
Yeah, they were wild card teams. Wow. It's pretty crazy what he was able to do, and he beat both times. They beat the Patriots, and that seals your legacy, right? You beat the GOAT. You beat an undefeated Patriots team in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Your place is set. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, but outside of Manning, name a quarterback that's thrived in New York in the last, I don't know, 30 years. Phil Simms obviously did really well with the Giants. But, I mean, outside of Eli, who are those names? Like, can you think of Giants or Jets quarterbacks who have thrived?
How could you forget about Mark Sanchez? Right?
No, right, yeah.
The butt fumble was legendary. Now that's legendary.
Now that should get you in the Hall of Fame.
No,
if you have the greatest blooper of all time in NFL history, you should go in the Hall of Fame at least for that.
You know who I did like? Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah.
I liked Vinny.
He was good with the Jets.
Yeah.
And that was the Parcells era, late 90s?
It was late 90s.
Because I remember my Broncos beating the Jets to go to the Super Bowl. And I think Vinny was the quarterback on that team. I'd have to double check that. But Parcells was the Jets coach.
The Jets were fun, right? Because Curtis Martin, I was a big fan of running backs when I was younger, right? Emmitt Smith was, of course, my favorite. But you got Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson. Curtis Martin was one of those great backs. Jamal Lewis, Jamal Anderson at those times. And so, like, I was a big fan of running backs during that era. And Curtis Martin, he was just electric. But Vinny Testaverde and Wayne Kerbeck.
Yeah.
That was my guy. I was like, you small dude.
That's a greasy dude, yeah.
Just freaking all hard. Him and Ed McCaffrey. You got to love guys like that.
I'm surprised Corbett never played for Belichick in New England, right? Because he's like, that's a Belichick guy.
Or coached.
But, of course, I think Corbett was – I'd have to look that up. But was he a Jet during the Parcells era? I don't remember. I'd have to look that up. But, yeah, that's a greasy guy that just found a way to survive in the league.
Yeah. I think that was Keyshawn Johnson's only good years. there too. But yeah, Vinny Testaverde to me, he was one of the better New York era quarterbacks.
Okay, yeah, Wayne Corbett. Al Groh was the year after, so Corbett did play during that era. Testaverde was the quarterback in 2000, 2001.
Corbett and Testaverde didn't play together?
They did. No, they crossed over for sure, and so did Parcells.
Okay.
So that 12-14 team that got to the conference finals, Parcells, Keyshawn, Testaverde, that was that group.
Nice,
so
nice.
Yeah, memories, man.
Yeah, I was just about to say
took me
that.
down memory lane, but would you go through
kids,
the list?
we're a little old here, all right? Go Googleize what we were just talking about.
Go googly it. I'm trying to think, and was Chad Pennington? I mean, there's just not a good list here. Boomer Esiason, but it was the end of his career. You got to go back to the 80s when they had consistency with Ken O'Brien, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be old to remember the Jets having good quarterback play.
Right.
They just never had it beyond the 80s, right? They had some great games back in the 80s. If you either lived through that or you study the game, those Jets-Dolphins games in the 80s were really good.
Was it Giants, Eagles that were just great in the 80s?
Oh yeah,
or was that the 70s?
Oh well, no. They had some games then too. But if you go back and look up the standings in the NFC East, you had the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, and the Washington team that were in Super Bowls or winning at a high rate every year, and it was a bloodbath every year to see which of those teams, and all the Hall of Famers that played on those teams.
Right.
You look at the Giants and all those great players, and the Cowboys in obviously their era.
Even the Washington team, the Hogs.
Oh my gosh!
Right, that was legendary.
And they had great players.
Yeah,
I knew. I'm a Broncos fan. I watched
Doug Washington,
Doug Williams.
Oh, Doug Williams
comes out of nowhere
ham on you
and totally outplays John Elway in a Super Bowl. So those teams were great. And at the bottom was the Cardinals. Believe it. The St. Louis Phoenix Arizona Cardinals were the bottom of that division every year because those other four teams were juggernauts.
What's so funny is the only thing I remember about the Cardinals is Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Rod Strickland.
A fictional player.
Right.
The only Cardinal you can name from back then is a fictional player in a movie.
And then after that, when
That's
Emmitt Smith.
all you need to know about the Cardinals.
Yes.
Before Kurt Warner and Fitzgerald showed up. Honestly, they were bad forever. So, oh man, we could talk about retro sports and old NFL stuff all day.
Don't get me started, especially if we
That's
go
why
on
we just got started. We're 12 minutes into the show, and people are like, "Move on! I want to hear about the Utes or something."
This is memory lane, guys.
Okay, because we got Sly here, and of course, you remember yesterday. We did not get to everything from that press conference yesterday, and shout out to Utah for doing this in January. Is giving you, the fans, and even those of you not fans of the program, an update on where the program's at, because I think it's important that everybody knows and understands what's going on right now, because there's a transition going on right now with the offense. And that program was 5-7 last year. It was, you would agree, that was a nightmare season for Utah.
Atrocious.
It felt like it was worse than 5-7.
And I think it makes it worse because it was unexpected. Like
and
going
unacceptable as well.
Yeah, unexpected, unacceptable for sure.
There was too much talent on that coaching staff and on that roster to be that bad.
Correct.
So
I mean,
changes
going
obviously
into
were
like
needed.
the Pac-12, you were kind of
that was totally expected.
You were expecting low years.
Yeah.
You weren't expecting this with Texas, Oklahoma leaving the Big 12.
You were picked to win the conference
by everybody. I'm trying to remember if there was somebody that said. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if somebody said that they weren't.
So they have things that they need to fix. And I think that rolling out yesterday and speaking to the media and answering some questions was part of the program saying we need to make some changes here. Not just in the program, but the narratives around the program and how we interact with our fan base and the community. Because there was too much mystery in the past.
Yeah, they were causing.
You as a former player and someone who's still tied very much to that program would agree. There's just too much mystery.
Correct.
And there's too much. We don't need to tell you anything going on up there that's not necessary.
Yeah, they have a lot of things that they need to take care of on their own. Why add more problems to it by creating unnecessary narratives?
Yes.
And that's what they were doing all year with their untransparency.
I think this is a change. Let's get into it. That's the cut. It's brought to you by G2G bars with all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein. G2G bars are perfect for anyone who needs a tasty and nutritious boost. Utah football's the cut at 3 o'clock.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This segment's also brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Give them a call today. Your local financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at trajanwealth.com if you have any needs financially with your financial planning, or if you own a small business and you need to provide a 401k for your employees. Those are all the kind of things that Trajan Wealth can help you with. Give them a call today. All right, Sly, I really want to get your reaction to a lot of different things. We're going to hit this 3 times each hour. So 1 time each hour during the show today, because there's so much here to unwrap and go through. Kyle Whittingham, we'll start with him in this segment. He gave, first of all, we'll get this out of the way right now. Okay, he gave the update. Cam Rising's no longer on Utah's roster. Cam Rising's time at Utah's over.
Okay.
So what is your reaction to that? Good, bad?
I think it was necessary.
Yes.
Right? I mean, here's
Agreed.
the thing.
It was time.
Well, here's the thing. Cam Rising's talented. I like Cam Rising. He personally, like me talking to Cam Rising, he's a good dude. I have a great relationship with Cam Rising. But one, you're bringing in a new system. And I don't think this system fits Cam Rising.
No.
Why would he be here?
Yeah.
Right? His skill set doesn't fit into this system. So why would he be here? That doesn't make sense. That's number one. And then 2, it's just been tumultuous this past couple years.
Whether that was his fault or not,
right. Whether it was
whatever his
fault or
responsibility is or not, it doesn't matter. It needed to end.
Right. And
2 years of the mystery and the roller coaster ride. I think everybody wanted off the ride.
And what I liked about it is establishing that right now in January when they're just doing winter training. We're not at spring practices. So everybody can stop asking the question on whether Cam Rising comes back here or not. Everybody who's just following him on X or whatever can find out the information on what he's doing now. Kyle Whittingham doesn't have to field those questions anymore.
2 things I've liked that they've done already here in January. Number 1, they did what they did yesterday by speaking to everybody. 2, they've turned the page on Cam Rising. It was time to move forward and move on.
Cam Rising did amazing things for Utah. It's great, but you can't continue on when something's not working. He played 1.5 games in
2 years.
2 years. And so okay, we do want to do right by you, but it's just not working for the university. We had the worst 2 years emotionally, even 2020, right? With Ty Jordan, Aaron Lowe, that was emotional on us. I just think that this past 2 years have been just as bad with what they've had to deal with.
Yeah.
I think Coach Witt's gray hairs have came even more out these past couple years with dealing with unfootball-like stuff. So Cam Rising was a contributor to that. And so, look, fix everything. Let's get it out. Let's get it refreshed.
Clean slate, fresh.
Clean slate.
Like
Let's
it.
do that. Let's only talk about the guys that are in this program. And I think that's the main factor that I got from that press conference yesterday. Let's get all that other stuff out so we can only press forward. Now, questions are only about us here, the people that are in this program, right? And that's what I loved about what Scalley said. I want to talk about the guys that are here in this program and going forward.
So let's break down what is new. They're turning the page. This is a new, fresh start, especially on offense. Let's hear what Kyle Whittingham has to say about Jason Beck's new offensive scheme and what that might look like for the Utes.
It's more wide open, more spread formations, a lot of Q run game, not quite as much implementation of the tight ends. Although that being said, Jason is a really good judge of talent, who to use, getting the most out of each guy and tweaking things to fit the personnel, which is really critical, in football, obviously, is to play to the strengths of your players and not try to put a square peg in a round hole. And that's something that he's done a really good job of through the years.
Sly, your reaction to that?
That sounds like a familiar statement.
Yeah, that kind of felt like last year putting a square peg in a round hole, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. One, I love the entire thing, right, is the scheme and what it does, opening the offense up. First of all, being a defender, I know how hard it is to defend a spread offense. It is way harder than a traditional offense, I promise you. I actually loved going against traditional offense. When you want to do our formation, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, I was just like, yes, thank you for making my life easier.
Yeah.
But just the different variables that you have to account for as a defender at every position against the spread offense makes you that much more dangerous. But that's what I loved about Andy Ludwig. He had a mix of both. But, last year our offense was so simple, so predictable. Anybody, even high school defenses, could figure that out, right? And we just thought that we could out-athlete everybody, and our scheme just wasn't great.
Right.
But I think now, with this being it, what Coach Witt said in his presser, he's like, and I didn't know this stat until he said it, Devin Dampierre was only sacked 4 times last year. And he said it wasn't because you had great protection. The kid is just an athlete. And so I expect to be wowed.
So give this kid and the running back, Wayshawn Parker, who we'll talk about in a moment, give them a power 4 elite offensive line, which Utah would and will and should have. They got to prove it on the field.
Right.
They had their moments last year. Spencer Fano's an All-American. The other guys, I think, need to step up, but the talent is there. So you're putting Dampierre and Wayshawn Parker, they're upgrading when it comes to offensive line protection and also blocking scheme, right?
You know what's crazy is, so before the season started, I was just like, our type of offensive line is more of an athletic offensive line. So I was more anticipating more screen game, more getting our offensive linemen out downfield. Not really the 2001 youths were 2019 with Zach Moss, and then when we had T.J. Pledger and Tavion Thomas, where we're just moving guys forward. Yeah. That I didn't think we were going to be that type of offensive line. Right. But now with this new offense, we still have all of that. I think every single offensive lineman came back except for our center, but I thought he came back.
I think everyone's rolling it back, yeah.
So, it was
a young group.
You get this cohesiveness unit of these guys getting a year of experience together last year, a new offense that fits more of their personality. They are athletic guys. I think those guys were pretty light. Spencer Fano can play tight end. You guys have seen that, as athletic as he is. But across the board, those guys are pretty athletic. They can move. Get those guys out and moving.
Yes.
Right? Like as I said, I think this is the last time I was in. I was like, pay attention to the Baltimore Ravens offense. The trap games, they are constantly moving. Their old linemen are downfield. They're letting guys go because Lamar Jackson can make the first defenders miss, and they're getting the second-level guys. That makes everything open. So as soon as Lamar Jackson gets past that initial defender, they're getting 10, 15 yards every single rep. That's huge. So, again, one thing that I listened to Jason Beck on this is he is just like, I want to pay more attention to our personnel and do what works for our personnel. And that's what an OC should be doing.
All right, Devin Dampierre looks to be the guy that they're going to have as a starter, and that makes perfect sense. He's already proven himself in Jason Beck's scheme. I think if you can unlock Devin Dampierre as a passer, that's going to decide what the ceiling is of this Utah offense. Because if he can throw the ball much more efficiently and bring the interceptions down and the touchdowns up with his running ability, now you've got something. Now you're in business. And he'll have those weapons that he needs. But Kyle Whittingham talks about what he's seen from Devin Dampierre and how he can help their offense.
Well, Devin is a true, in every sense of the word, dual-threat quarterback. I mean, he's a terrific runner. He's a very good thrower. We expect to get his completion percentage bumped up a little bit this year. We think that'll happen just through maturity and familiarity in the system. But he's a guy that was only sacked 4 times last year, and it wasn't because of stellar protection all the time. He is very mobile in the pocket, has great pocket awareness. That's a remarkable stat to only have 4 sacks. So we think that he's obviously the perfect fit for this offense. He is. I mean, he proved it last year, and so we're excited to have him pick up where he left off from the Mex.
I guess I said that a little early, but
no, it's good because you listened to Whit and he's right, and now you can react to this because Devin Dampierre is going to be the guy, and they already have that confidence that he can do this going in because he's proven himself in that offense. Right out of the gate here in spring to have a quarterback that's going to be able to run this offense, and I also think maybe you tell me if I'm wrong. I think this is a good fit for Isaac Wilson too, which may explain why Isaac decided to come back. I'm sure I don't know. I'm sure he and his parents had a conversation with Coach Beck while he was in the portal to figure out if this was going to be a good fit for him. And it was pretty interesting that he wasn't in the portal long. He came back and feels like he's ready to go to be a part of this program moving forward. So I don't think this is just about Devin Dampierre. I think it's about the quarterback room in general and where they want to go with their quarterbacks.
Red shirt.
Yeah.
Please. And that's all the advice I want to give out because this was going to be, even before you brought Isaac up, like, he just redshirted this year. Yeah. I think a lot of people are not understanding the value of experience, right? He got that experience, right? Now sit wait a year, understand the game a little more, build up your body, to be more ready to handle college football. He literally started in January. He wasn't even finished with his senior year, and then take on a huge college football program with all kinds of expectations on it.
Got a lot of football.
That was just
no rush.
A terrible situation for him, and that's why we said, I think we did wrong by Isaac with that situation. But just sit this year. You got no worries. You're fine. And just grow and develop. And that's what I believe Devin Dampier did last year, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the interceptions, but we also talk about all the electric stuff that he was doing. Imagine another year of experience, which was last year.
He was a sophomore.
Yeah. So he should develop into this year and be even better this year. Now with more weapons, and we got a whole nother transfer portal, so you just figure out what you have this spring, figure out how Jason Beck's tempo and personnel and his identity and what he likes to call in certain situations. You get to figure that out in spring ball and know a little bit about yourself. So I think Coach Whittingham's more eager to get spring ball started than anybody.
No doubt.
So he can make those decisions.
Do you sense a re-energized Kyle Whittingham? There's more I wanted to get to, but I feel like we need to hit this before we move on. Because I've covered Kyle's career for 20 years. My first year here was his first year as the head coach at Utah. And there is an intensity and a fire about him that's always existed. I didn't see it last year.
I haven't seen it last couple of years.
It was noticeable.
Yeah.
Can he bring that back for at least one more year? Can he find that? Did you see some of that yesterday?
I mean, can he? Of course he can. I believe he can. But, we talked about it all year. It's what Utah should do versus what they will do.
Right.
And so can he? Yes. Will he? That's to be determined, right? But yesterday, I felt more energy from him, right? And, we had the season was crazy. I don't know anybody that could be happy.
I get it. I understand why. You got to be able to bring that. If you're going to ask your players to bring that.
Right, you got to bring it. Especially
your
you guys.
Players
especially
and your
you guys.
program.
Yes.
It starts with you as the head coach. And you've seen, and there's too many examples of, and I don't think this is the case. I think he wants to go out. This is why he's back. I think he wants to go out as strong as he can.
Yeah.
But you see many coaches that just hang on a little bit too long.
Right.
And they're not able to bring that. It's just not possible. You get to a certain point where you just cannot give that same amount. Just like as athletes. Eventually you're going to turn 35 or 40 years old, unless you're LeBron James or Tom Brady. And you're not going to be able to do what you did when you're 25, right?
Right.
It's just it's how it works. I would love, for his sake, to see him go out as the Kyle Whittingham we all saw on the field, and to go out the right way.
Right.
And that program needs him to bring that energy from the top, and it'll work its way down, I believe.
Yeah, I completely agree. Looking at this roster, I believe that you just need to have some dogs in there. Right, and just some guys with.
And could this be a more humble group?
Yes.
And is that what they needed? Maybe there was just a little bit too much.
Maybe that's the style of Utah, right?
Do you think they got away from what the culture was that built them into being two-time Pac-12 champions?
Who they were was taking 2- and 3-star guys and making them 5-star guys.
Yeah.
Making them with development, with experience, with the culture,
hard
right?
work,
and these last couple of years, we're so fixated on getting 4- and 5-star guys. Right? And so I think you have a good mix of star players here on this team right now, and then guys that have potential to be 4- and 5-star guys. And that's the best thing about being a coach is, can you bring out the best in those players? Can you make this 2-star guy a 4-star guy?
Devin Dampier fits that mold.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of colleges overlooked him because he's only 5'11".
But this is a platform.
He was at New Mexico.
Yes.
Didn't have a lot of scholarship offers.
Dog.
There's still some dog in that guy.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to go prove people wrong,
and
even though it's on a bigger stage.
He can have a chip on his shoulder his whole career.
I think he fits what they're looking for a lot of different
I mean, I haven't talked to him or interviewed the kid, so I don't really know about him. But I hope he takes a humble approach, a hungry, humble approach.
He's going to get a chance to prove himself on a Power 4 stage.
Yeah, and this be the stage you need. Everybody denounced Drew Brees, right? He's only 5'11".
Yeah.
And he
Kyler Murray won a Heisman Trophy.
Kyler Murray, one of the best quarterbacks ever. So I love it. I think that I did see the energy from Witt in that interview. And again, this was right after the season. This is an early press conference that Utah held, in order to get this and get all that stuff out the way. So seeing Coach Whitt have that energy this early in winter training, I think is great. He's had a couple weeks to rest and get things refigured out. And as they've been recruiting and getting coaching staff and transfer portal guys in, I did see a little bit more energy from Whitt, but, to be determined. But 2025 definitely needs to be the year of Whitt for University of Utah.
I like that. Good way to end this part of the conversation. We're going to hit the Utes each hour. We're going to at 4:30. We'll talk about and get Sly's reaction to what Jason Beck had to say, and then at 5 o'clock you're going to hear from coach in waiting, defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley. We'll hear a big chunk of his press conference and then react to that as well. So a lot of that coming up next. We got Jazz talk. We've got Utah Hockey Club going through a rough time. Mike Folta is going to join us at 4 o'clock, so a lot to get to moving ahead. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, it's Jazz Daily. You're listening to JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz. It's time! All season long and even in the off-season, it's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Break up the Tesh brothers here rocking out. But we got to get to the actual news surrounding the Utah Jazz. They play the Charlotte Hornets tonight. The Hornets just completed a trade. It's not a big trade. It's not that big of a deal. But the Suns are getting the Hornets center Nick Richards in exchange for Josh Okogie and 3 second-round picks. Now, is that a needle-moving trade? Of course not. The Suns are trying to get some bigs. The Suns are struggling. They're underperforming. So they make a trade to get a big to help their depth up front. The only reason I'm even bringing it up is because guess who the Jazz play tonight? The Charlotte Hornets, who, because of this trade, will now be shorthanded. Of course, the Jazz are pretty shorthanded, too. Here's who's out tonight for the Utah Jazz. Jordan Clarkson, left plantar fasciitis. John Collins, left hip, injury management. Taylor Hendricks, of course, is going to be out all season. He's on the injury report. Johnny Juzang has a right hand fracture now. He's going to be out for a minute. Lauri Markkanen, out with low back spasms. And even Colin Sexton is out tonight with, checks notes, rest. So the Jazz are not rolling out a big lineup tonight. Keontae George does return. He is available tonight. He's been dealing with some left heel inflammation, but he will play tonight. So, obviously, we talk about the Jazz differently this season. We understand the assignment. We know what they're doing. It's not all about wins and losses with this group. The most important thing is player development. But it is interesting that even when the Jazz do win, it's rarely at home. And Sly forever. I mean, you might even remember this as a Laker fan going back to when you were younger. Winning in Utah was hard.
Oh, yeah.
Always hard.
Oh, yeah.
Even the Lakers found that to be the case. Even the great Laker teams had a hard time winning here. Shaq and Kobe really struggled against John Stockton and Karl Malone. And that was the team they had to overcome eventually to become champions. And as soon as that era of Jazz basketball reached past its apex, the Lakers were able to come in, along with the Spurs, and dominate the West.
Well, they said Kobe became Kobe after that series with the Jazz.
Yes.
Right?
That was his rookie year, 97?
Was it?
He had those air balls.
It was
and
rookie
he
or
learned a lot
second
from
year.
that. And obviously, we know what Kobe became after
Right.
that. But those moments of failure helped shape him.
For sure.
And help him become the player. Losing to the Jazz helped the Lakers become a dynasty in 2000s. It's true.
I agree.
It also helped the Spurs.
It's just a funny headline.
Greg Popovich built that Spurs roster. And obviously, they benefited greatly by getting Tim Duncan. But they also added pieces in late first and early second round, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. They built that team in an effort to beat the Jazz. And it ended up becoming a championship era for them as well. The Lakers and Spurs basically took turns winning championships during the early 2000s. So you go through these cycles. But for whatever weird reason, and I'm opening up the standings right now, and I'll be able to throw this out. Let me just throw this out there, and I'll see if you can guess. The Jazz have won 10 games this year. How many of those games do you think they won were at home? If you're guessing by normal what Jazz would be when if you take 10 games, they win 10 games, how many of those 10 wins should be at home?
I mean, the last time I was here, they just won 2 on the road in Florida. So,
right.
I'm assuming not much. Maybe I would say 3 at home.
You nailed it.
Oh, damn.
Without even looking at the standings.
I'm good, bro.
Sly.
Let's go to Vegas, JJ.
Hit Snake Eyes.
Come on, 6. I've been waiting on you all
he just
night.
hit 6. You just rolled well. 3 wins this year at home. They're 3-14 at home, 7-14 on the road. Go figure. That makes no sense whatsoever. Even a bad team should be more of their wins should be at home than on the road. But the Jazz have actually been a better road team. So tonight, for those of you who are pro tank, and there are many of you, I know many of you can't stand it. Like me, it's just. You accept it, but it makes me sick because trying to lose or a league that tries to reward franchises for losing is backwards.
But that's what I want to know. So,
I hate it.
Being the bottom, like the NFL, right? Like they were fighting for the bottom. That's not the same case with the lottery, right? Like if you're the bottom team, that doesn't
You're not
mean,
guaranteed.
Yeah, okay.
So even in the NFL, so we make a big thing about getting the number 1 pick, but did the Giants really tank? No, they don't care. I mean, did the Titans is there one player in the NFL draft this year that's going to turn a team into a Super Bowl contender?
Like instantly?
Yeah. No. If you had to think that long, the answer is no.
A contender?
Even as much hype as Caleb Williams had.
You know what's crazy?
It turned out there were better quarterbacks in last year's draft.
Yeah.
Bo Nix was the 12th pick. He was more productive than Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels was taken after him.
He was my quarterback.
Jaden Daniels is a Pro Bowl level player.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. I like, and it's situational fit.
Just because you have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft does not mean anything. In the NBA, it doesn't guarantee you championships, but one player can turn you into a contender. The Spurs are trying to get there with Wembanyama. I think they're a year or 2 away. Mm-hmm. But obviously, they're on that trajectory with a freak of nature that's going to be one of the biggest unicorn players we've ever seen in the NBA history, who's going to help them win a championship eventually.
I pray for health for that guy because I want to see. I want to see the excitement.
Nobody wants to see that become a negative thing or have him to have any health issues because of his height. And so far, so good. But you look over time, and there are NBA superstars that change the fortune of franchise. They become more marketable, all those things, right? And it's funny, the best player in the game, you could argue right now, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, not a number 1 overall pick, a guy that was traded as an afterthought in a trade for a superstar player. So, but don't get me started on the tanking thing with the NBA. I don't know that it guarantees you anything, but the truth is, mediocre teams don't win championships, and you can get stuck in mediocrity. And this is where I agree with Ryan Smith's assessment and trust Danny Ainge with what he's doing and what he's building because he went through it with the Celtics, is you got to be bad for a little bit to get better. And I hate that the NBA has incentivized that, but that's the system, and they're playing the system. Ryan Smith has tasked Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck to play the system, to play the game the way it's set up. And unfortunately, this is how the NBA's game is played right now when it comes to drafting talent. You got to stink for a little bit. And the line that they're towing right now is being really, really bad without having a bad culture. And they've charged Will Hardy with that challenge. And I think Will Hardy has one of the toughest jobs in the NBA right now, is towing that line of trying to keep this winning culture going, or keeping a positive, healthy culture. A culture of winning while you're losing, that's a lot to ask. Well, that's a lot to ask.
It is, but you do it by telling the young bull that you need rest. How does Colin Sexton need rest?
He doesn't. And Colin would tell you that.
Yeah.
And Colin wants to play.
Yeah,
he's an 82-game Ironman type dude.
Oh, yeah. I heard that, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Having spent time around Colin and talked to him, that dude is...
Go.
Uh-huh.
I've been around guys that just never stop.
Colin wants to be the best in the league. He wants to be an all-star.
Yeah.
He's not going to sit for 1 minute.
I loved him in Cleveland. And he'd come in here, it was
He'll
just
play
great.
48 minutes if you let him play 48 minutes.
If you let him.
Right.
So, like, the young bull needing rest.
Right. You know what's going on here.
You couldn't even put anything on the injury report. Not an ankle, not a...
Yeah, you couldn't even lie about it.
Not a tendonitis soreness. He just needs rest.
Yeah, we've decided that he needs rest.
Right.
But we all get it, right? Okay, so it's just... It's you have to start watching this team for what it is. And I think a lot of fans have caught on to that. And look, that Florida trip was fun. Bryce Sensabaugh exploding for, 36 and 27 points, or 34 and 27 it was. 34 and 27. That was awesome because you start seeing these young players have great games. Watching Isaiah Collier hit a game-winning shot and make a great move and a great play like that and leading that team from the point guard position to a win, that's progress. That's growth. So you have to enjoy those small victories. And the Jazz are towing that line, and it's a hard place to be. But I'm not blaming the Utah Jazz organization. I don't blame Ryan Smith or Danny Ainge or Justin Zanuck or Will Hardy or any of the players. This is an NBA problem, and they're playing the game that the NBA has forced them to play. That if you want to build a championship contender, you're going to have to build it through the lottery, and you want to get the best chance to get the best players. That's what this is requiring, and it sucks for the fans because the TV money's there, so there's not any. You can't vote with your eyeballs by turning it off because the money's there already. Fans are going to go watch the games because they love this team and they support this team in this community. They're not going to turn on this team because of the circumstances. So it is what it is. Let's embrace it. Let's enjoy it for what it is. And another chance tonight to do that as the Jazz take on the Hornets right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. The pregame show will start at 6, and tip-off will be at 7 o'clock. All right, we have to take another break. Checking to see if I have to read anything else. I do not. So we will move on to the next chapter of JJ and Alex on this Wednesday. It's Would You Rather. That will be next. I got an interesting for you slide that it's going to be a toughie. It's going to be a tough one. I don't even know what I'm going to say. So we'll get to that next. It's an NFL Would You Rather.
Oh,
and it's on JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Tune in Friday afternoon as JJ and Alex interview Utah Hockey Club head coach Andre Tourigny. During the interview, listen for the keyword Ingram. That's Ingram. When you hear it, be caller number 12 and win a 4-pack of tickets to Saturday's game against the St. Louis Blues. Again, tune in Friday afternoon to this show, JJ and Alex, on the radio home of the Utah Hockey Club, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone, for even more chances to win Utah Hockey Club tickets. You can also visit the contest page on KSLSports.com. As you heard, it's time for Would You Rather here on JJ and Alex. Got a couple. I'm going to throw this one your way first, though, Sly. It's an NFL one, and this is a Sophie's choice for me because I love both of these quarterbacks oh so much. Would you rather have Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen as your quarterback?
Oh, gosh.
Because you can only pick one. Can't have both.
I mean, I can have Josh Allen and Lamar in the slot.
Stop it.
Man, oh my gosh. Because I am a huge fan of how Josh Allen plays the game. Love it. But just Lamar's upside, I got to pick Lamar. I got to take Lamar. Both of them need more, winning accolades as far as like championships, division.
Patrick Mahomes is stealing them all.
You're same division. That's why
he's
football,
the Michael Jordan of the NFL right now.
Literally,
you have all these great quarterbacks right now that can't win championships because Patrick Mahomes is stealing them all.
Now it's Barkley, Malone,
Patrick Ewing,
Sean
Kemp, and Gary Payton.
Nobody can have anything because Mike's just the guy.
Gobble them all up,
right? And I think Lamar and Josh are with it, and that's why I just think these playoffs each and every year are just exciting. Ever since that. Even before that, but that 13 seconds left in the game, Buffalo, Kansas City game, that was just amazing, right? And these guys are just trended. Lamar Jackson probably could get 3 MVPs, back-to-back MVPs this year.
He's probably going to win it again this year.
Yeah, it's kind of undeniable. The guy's doing great. Again, we talked about it. They're only separated by 2 wins?
Yeah.
And otherwise, every statistic goes Lamar Jackson's way. So
they're both dual threat.
They're both in the playoffs.
They both won at a high level.
Right.
But they both haven't won the big one yet. It's
this game, this is it Saturday or Sunday they play?
They play Sunday night.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's
Sunday afternoon.
Ooh, that's going to be awesome. Awesome.
Only one is going to advance.
Yes, and
I cannot tell you how much I'm going to watch every second of this game because the quarterback matchup to me is just so great.
I pray for double overtime.
Go sit at Buffalo Wild Wings and pull that lever,
Please
Sly.
tell me that's going to happen. That's the result of this game. This is going
Eat
to be
some
an
wings
epic
and keep
matchup.
pulling that lever.
They're both in their prime, right? They have
Yes.
tons of experience. They're both like on the MVP stage, obviously.
Yes.
They both got loaded, or Ravens got a more loaded roster
I would
as
agree
far
with
as
that.
talent. But like the Buffalo's utilization, they have no scrubs over there. I'm a big fan of Mac Hollins. He's bigger than I thought he was.
Yes, he is.
And like
He's got
Dalton
tight end size as a
Kincaid,
receiver, yeah.
Knox, even the running backs are doing great. Singletary, but he just understands how to
Keon
utilize
Coleman,
his guys.
Shakir. They got receivers that
They
are
got,
catching balls.
who did they just sign mid-season? The receiver. Gosh, dang it.
Samuel?
No.
He caught the
He was with the
touchdown.
Browns, Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. Amari Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. He's got so their roster's great, right? And I think it's going to come down to it, man. And the defenses are going to have to step up. We're going to have to see Kyle Van Noy's a great game plan and play. Going to have to probably make the difference, or is it going to be Taron Johnson or Moreau?
Which veterans make a big play?
Who's it going to be, man? It could be anybody. That's what in these games. So excited for this game on Sunday night. But for me, it's Lamar Jackson.
I'll go Josh Allen just to be different. But it's like asking you and having two great kids that accomplish great things. It's like asking them which kid you like the best.
The more successful one. If one makes $1 or more, I'm picking that kid. There's favorites in this house, Sonny. There's favorites.
It's always a competition, right?
Always.
All right.
That's how you keep them going.
Another one here, and Alex had this one, and I'm curious to find out what Alex had the motivation for here. But this is a good question. Would you rather retire as a somewhat under-the-radar, forgotten coach with a winning record, or a famous coach that's known to lose championships?
Oh. That's a good question because there's different factors with all of it, right? And when you talk about legacy, you talk about all this other stuff. You did go to the big game. You just lost it, right? So it's kind of like, do you want to be Bill Russell or do you want to be Jerry West?
Ooh.
Right?
There you go.
And so, one, you could be the NBA logo, or you can just stack championships like crazy, right? Like which one? That's actually a very good question. I don't know, but honestly, Alex, do I at least get one championship in that? Oh man, I don't know. I don't know.
Is there a real life?
Here's the thing, because if yeah.
Well, Marv Levy lost 4 Super Bowls as a head coach.
He's forgotten too, so he's not famous for losing.
Bill Parcells and
is a good one.
And Joe Gibbs. I'm throwing out coaches of his era. They're more famous because they won the big games. Jimmy Johnson, Dallas Cowboys. So I get the point, and it's a tough one.
That is tough. I think it's situational too. But for me, I think being famous and not winning the big game. I think there's athletes like that, right? Is it who's a big one? Karl Malone's one. Charles Barkley's one. They've made a name for themselves for life after the game, and they can speak to that. So for me, this is so hard. As I said, this is a good would you rather. But for me, I famous and losing the big game, and as a competitor, it's hard for me to say that.
So John Calipari for Kentucky, for instance, how many championships did he win at Kentucky?
Oh, he's got it like 4, right?
No.
What?
1.
With Anthony Davis?
Yep.
That's the only one?
That's it. All the great players, almost 50 number 1 first-round picks, almost 50 during his time there.
Only one?
They won 1.
Did Derrick Rose go there? Where'd
That was at Memphis, and they made a national championship game, but they lost to Kansas, if you remember. So Calipari was at Memphis with Derrick Rose before he took the Kentucky job.
That's crazy. I don't even remember him losing
and
that
so
many games.
Calipari lost that national championship game
But
with
he's
Derrick Rose.
famous.
If I threw out and said, name one college basketball coach right now, John Calipari instantly comes to your mind. But guess who has just as many championships as John Calipari? Tony Bennett at Virginia, who just retired, and Scott Drew at Baylor. But you get what I'm saying?
Who?
See? Who would you rather be?
I agree. And that's why I said it. I was like, I'd be famous for losing the game because of how I can continue on with that and how I think that, my career would go past the game, even if I was old. Say I was coaching forever, I could still do podcasts or jump on what's that, College Game Day, like Saban.
You're Rex. You want to be Rex Ryan?
Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan's a great coach.
He won nothing.
Nothing.
But he's such a big name. He still gets coaching interviews.
Oh,
right?
Instantly. He's one of the top candidates for his judge job.
Herm Edwards never won a Super Bowl,
even as a player.
But he's a famous coach, right?
You know about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess there's good and bad with both.
You got my answer, Alex.
There you go. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back,
that's a good one.
We're going to talk to the voice of the Utah Hockey Club. You hear him here every game on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Mike Folta will join us. We'll talk about the Utah Hockey Club, some of their struggles, what they need to do to get right, how they're going to overcome some of these injuries, and what to look forward to next. Mike Folta right here next on JJ and Alex 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A lot to look forward to. We're going to get back to the Utes here in a moment. From the press conference yesterday, a lot of great topics to get to. Some new batch of college football Hall of Famers that has a local flair, and we'll get to the NFL Blitz later in the show as well. But in this hour, we're going to kick it off with some Utah Hockey Club. Tough loss last night against the Montreal Canadiens. The Utah Hockey Club has now lost 9 of their last 11 games, and tough going right now for them. So we're going to get into some of that right now, and it's brought to you by G2G Bars with all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein. G2G Bars are perfect for anyone who needs a tasty and nutritious boost. Also, this segment is brought to you by Doug Smith Dealerships, Dodge, Ram, Chevrolet, Subaru, Kia in Linden, and now Mitsubishi in American Fork. They're going to take care of you. Go down to Mitsubishi in American Fork and take advantage of that $398 down, $398 a month on those PHEVs. It's a great deal right now going on at Doug Smith Dealerships. All right, let's get to it. Utah Hockey Club, it's the cut right here at 4 o'clock.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time for our weekly conversation with the voice of the Utah Hockey Club. You hear his voice each and every game right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Mike Folta joins us live. Mike, welcome to the program.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's going well with one exception. Utah Hockey Club's struggling right now. And, Mike, everyone's still excited about hockey, but as the season goes along and you get into the 82-game season and the highs and lows, we're learning right now that hockey's a long season, but we're in one of those lows right now, and I think fans are like, what's going on with this team? Just an overall view from what you're seeing with this team right now. They've lost 9 of 11. What's going on with this club right now? How do they get right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a diff right now for this team, and welcome to what we call the dog days of the NHL season. That's January and February when the intensity picks up, but the end doesn't necessarily seem any closer in sight. I mean, it's an 82-game season, and we just passed the halfway point. So we got a whole lot of hockey left. That's the good news. And also the good news is that even though, yes, Utah is probably in its worst dip of the year, they're still only 3 games out of a playoff spot. So there's a lot of time to get right, especially when you think that one of the teams that's in front of Utah, the Calgary Flames, is a team that Utah has already beaten twice. So that's a team that Utah feels pretty good against moving forward. But this team had a real lapse last night. I mean, I know head coach Andre Chorny was pretty frustrated with his team's effort. I mean, that was a game that the Montreal Canadiens, for those of you who were there last night, you could see that the Canadiens tried to basically hand the game to Utah in the first period, and Utah wasn't composed enough to take the game from them. And so it was a 5-3 loss last night, but you get a chance to do it again here tomorrow against the New York Rangers team that, like Montreal, has been playing pretty good hockey recently. And that's what Utah has been facing. They've been catching a lot of teams at the wrong time. recently. The Canadians being one of them, the Rangers being another one tomorrow night, and then you've got the best team in the Western Conference, the Winnipeg Jets, coming into town next week as well. And with sandwiched in between there is a game against the St. Louis Blues team that has since moved ahead of Utah in the standings. So at some point, you got to put the excuses aside and figure out a way to win. But this is a young team that's still learning that right now, guys.
Man, yeah, I definitely understand that, especially when you say the dog days, man. I do understand when days start to blend together. JJ alluded to it, man. 82 games is a long season, but you do figure out, your teams after kind of the Winter Classic, the January, February range. So what is this team's vibe? You said they're 3 games out of the playoffs. Are they just, going to sing the first year blues of the team, or do they still have the playoffs in sight?
Playoffs are still very much within reach, and the goal for this team entering this season was not necessarily to make the playoffs. The goal was to be in the mix. The goal was to be playing meaningful games at the end of the season, and we heard General Manager Bill Armstrong talking earlier today with the Daily Faceoff's Frank Saravalli on one of their shows. He was saying that Utah could be either a buyer or a seller at the deadline. He was very candid and honest, and he said the players will basically make that decision for him if Utah is going to be a buyer or a seller. So I think there's very much a chance that this Utah team could be a buyer at the trade deadline, which is coming up in March, and try to add some pieces to help a playoff run. However, if this trend continues that Utah's been on for the last couple of weeks, then Utah's going to find out pretty quickly in a very competitive Western Conference that it's going to be too high of a hill to climb to get back into the postseason.
One thing they got to get figured out is the second period. Mike, can you put your finger on it? I know you've had conversations with people in the organization. Why has this team been struggling in the second period?
Yeah, it's a weird anomaly. I'm an engineer by trade. I'll tell anybody who will listen. That was my education at Purdue. I wasn't like a journalist or anything. But one thing they teach you in those engineering classes or the stats classes that I cheated my way through is that you need like a large enough sample size to make any inferences about a population or a certain metric. And I don't know if the sample size is big enough for us to make any sweeping generalizations about second periods. But I will say this. Second period is different for those of our casual fans. It's different because your defensive zone is opposite your bench, and so it's harder for you to make line changes and things like that when the puck is in your own zone, in your own defensive zone, because the players have further to go to change. So you can get trapped out there, basically, and then guys are tired, and that's when penalties happen, and that's when the other team capitalizes and scores. I haven't noticed that as much, Utah getting stuck in their own zone in the second period, or as we call it, the period of the long change. But I have noticed some lapses more so from like a focus standpoint. And I think this team has not yet found consistent focus throughout games and throughout stretches of games. As these young players mature, hopefully that will take place and allow this team to transition to a team that's not just trying to play meaningful games in April, but be playing playoff games in April, May, and June.
All right, I'm going to bite. Before we get back to the Utah Hockey Club, I have to ask you this question. How does an engineering major become a hockey broadcaster?
Hey, you love what you love,
you have
man.
You have to be a really bad engineering major.
I like that response.
Yeah, fell off the wagon pretty hard, and so hard, in fact, they're like, you know what? Why don't you talk about hockey?
You were that bad at engineering. Well, you made the right choice, and we're happy that you're here. I don't want to go too negative on this team because they're still in the mix, and they've had to overcome a lot of adversity, and I think that's interesting. They're dealing with it right now. Dylan Guenther out, their top goal scorers out, so of course you're going to struggle a little bit. How much are they missing with him out, and who's got to step up while he's out?
They're missing him a lot right now, and I'll tell you, not just who needs to step up, but who has already stepped up, and it's Logan Cooley. And Cooley was one of the best players on this team before Guenther went down with injury, and now he is centering the top line with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. And he has set career highs in ice time each of the last 2 games, and he played like 24 minutes the other night against Montreal, which is the most that any Utah forward has played in a single game this season. And he's on pace for a huge season in pro year number 2. And so I think with how competitive he is and how talented he is, that combination right there, you're going to see with his increased opportunity with Gunther out, you're going to see a lot of number 92 in black, and you're going to see a lot of good things. He scored one of the 3 goals last night that tied the game in the third period for Utah. And, he's got a knack for big moments, and he's got the talent to back it up as well.
Man, that's great to hear about them. And that goes right into my question. Who's been a standout this year outside of, the no names like Keller, Gunther, Cooley? Like, who's been a surprising standout from the staff, from the coaching that, you didn't really expect much this year, but you're getting great contributions from?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of those throughout the lineup. I think Jack McBain, he wears number 22 in Mountain Blue, and He's kind of a straight line, hard-nosed guy. There's not a lot of finesse to his game. He's a big body. He's one of the NHL's leader in hits. He's got 10 goals this year, and they've all come at even strength. It's hard to score at even strength, a lot harder than it is on the power play. And he's done some great work. He's usually been playing on a line with Cooley and Gunther. So, you're in good hands when you're playing with those 2 guys most nights. But he has stepped up his game, and it'll be interesting to see what Utah does with him contract-wise moving forward. I think he's warranted another couple years based on his play so far. If he can continue that, then he'll certainly be a guy you want to keep around, because Utah doesn't have a ton of those big bodies up front that are going to crash into people and win battles. But he's definitely one of them who's on on pace for a career year. I think also goaltending. You got to mention Karel Vejmelka, Veggie, as they call him. And, last year was his first season in the NHL not being the number 1 goaltender on the team in Arizona. And he has kind of reclaimed that number 1 status here in Utah with the way that he's played the last few weeks and months. And he let in 5 the other night against Montreal, but by and by, he has given Utah a chance to win pretty much every night.
John Marino returned last night, and that was much anticipated, and the blue line certainly needs him. Sounds like Sean Durzee's not too far away either. How important, I should first say, how much have they missed both of those guys on the blue line, and what will it do for this team once both of those guys are back healthy and playing?
I think that's probably sneakily the biggest storyline of the season for this Utah team is the injuries to the back end. And Utah's been pretty lucky for the most part this year, where the team has been mostly healthy up front. But if you really look at it on the back end, Utah has been missing basically 2 of its top 3 defensemen. You got Mikhail Sergachev, who's playing half the game, and then John Marino coming back. He played his first game last night against Montreal and looked really smooth. Looked really calm, did not look like anything was too fast for him. I think he'll be up to speed pretty quickly here. He was telling us earlier that he thinks it'll take about 2 games for him to get up to speed. And we were thinking, 2 games, really? I mean, you've missed months with an injury. It's all going to take 2 games, but seeing him last night against Montreal, that's going to be a huge get for Utah. That's basically like trading for a guy. Like he comes off injured reserve and boom, he's making a big impact on your defense. But those defensemen are so important to get pucks up the ice, help the transition game. And the better your defensemen are, the more time you're going to spend in the offensive zone and the less time you're going to spend in the defensive zone. And Durzee's a huge part of that as well. He was fantastic in the 3.5 games he played with Utah before injury. And remember, Durze was the number 1 defenseman in Arizona last year. So he's going to be one of the top dogs on that back end when and if he does come back. So to get those guys back, or at least to get Marino back for now, is a huge boost. And it's kind of hard to imagine that Utah has been holding serve right at around 500 all season, missing 2 of their most important players.
Watching each and every game, I've noticed a lot of the teams in the league are much more physical than Utah. Is that something they can work on and improve on, or is it just not the DNA of their roster?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's not the DNA of their roster. I think you'd like to be physical, like that sounds good, but if you're hitting somebody, you're also not getting the puck necessarily. Right. So if you look at the possession metrics for Utah, they're one of the best teams in the league at possessing the puck in the offensive zone. So they have the puck more in the offensive end. And to head coach Andre Turdy and to the staff and to the team, that's more important than running people through walls. Now, when you get to the playoffs, you better be able to withstand that type of style, because a lot of the teams that survive and make it through to the finals, they've got some bruisers in their lineup, or at least they have guys that can play a physical game. And it's really not all about hits. Like, you can deliver a hit and maybe it looks nice and the crowd oohs and ahs, but it doesn't make a big impact on the game. There's a lot of physicality that doesn't get listed as a hit. It could be a battle for the puck in the corner. It could be a battle in front of the net front. So I think the hits number is pretty deceiving in the sport of hockey, and Utah would much rather have the puck than try to run somebody through the glass.
Coming up next, New York Rangers. How cool is that? The Rangers are going to be here on Thursday night. Look forward to that. And then they close out the homestand, as you mentioned earlier, with St. Louis and Winnipeg. I would. One of my questions would be to ask you, how important is it to win these home games? But the truth is, they've been better on the road. Can you put your finger on why that is?
Yeah, I was talking with Josh Doan earlier today. Outstanding young man, 22 years old and extremely well-spoken, takes after his dad, Shane Doan, who was the captain with the Arizona Coyotes. But he was saying, this team has been putting pressure on themselves, and especially when you've got the feeling like, man, we should be better, and this new city wants to win, and we're good enough to be beating these teams. Like that's creating internal pressure that I think this team feels even more at home than it does on the road when they play a little bit more free and a little bit more, a little bit more loose, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. But yeah, you got to take advantage of these home games, especially you got to take advantage of this atmosphere at Delta Center, because believe me, I'm right in the middle of it calling the game. You can come say hi to me. I'm right behind the Chick-fil-A booth. I think it's like section 6 or 7.
That's purposeful, isn't it?
I'm right. Yeah. Well, that's trouble for me. The Chick-fil-A is right before a game. Put on a few pounds.
It just smells the whole game.
Quick access.
Right.
You got to eat something during intermission.
Do I want the Polynesian sauce or the Chick-fil-A sauce? Like everything else is figured out for
tough choices.
But that's a tough life. But all that to say, my seat is in the middle of the bowl, so I can feel the energy, and it's one of the best atmospheres in the league, and you got to take advantage of that. And so far, Utah hasn't.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess that'll lead me right into my question. I literally ask every time I talk to somebody from the club. When are we getting these sweaters, man? I heard there's going to be a new release. I am eagerly waiting on this release.
I don't have any dates for you, but the messaging from leadership is that reinforcements are on the way.
Good. Oh, I like that. Okay.
We're all going to be standing in line, Mike, waiting for our sweaters.
We can't wait. We've got the youth jerseys we're selling now, Sylvester.
I can't fit those. I'm 260 pounds. I'm not. That ain't gonna work. It'll fit an arm.
We'll stitch a couple of them together for you or something.
Perfect. You know what? I'm good with that. Shaq had to do that with his bed, right? He had like 5 beds that he had
whatever to get the job done.
His Lamborghini was like that too. He cut 2 Lamborghinis in half to make
that's
something like
weird.
Tough to be sure. No cutting of the merchandise. No cutting of the merchandise.
No, you do not want to desecrate one of those expensive Utah Hockey Club sweaters, even the youth ones. So. Mike, you're the best. We appreciate you. Thanks so much for jumping on each and every week. We learn a lot by listening to you and and having these interviews. I think fans really appreciate hearing the voice each and every week here on JJ and Alex. And we're going to hear you Thursday night, 7 p.m. is when the puck drops for the Rangers and the Utah Hockey Club. Mike, thanks so much. Enjoy it. Have fun on Thursday night.
Thanks, guys. Got some college basketball to watch here tonight, so hope you're going to enjoy it as well.
Are you watching your Boilermakers?
Oh, big one against the Washington Huskies out west here tonight.
Okay, that sounds like a really nice non-conference matchup. What are we doing?
No, you kidding
What are
me?
we doing?
That's a Big Ten rivalry is all the time.
Yeah. Oh, the long history between the Boilermakers and the Huskies. Going way back tonight.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
All right.
Thanks,
Tradition
guys.
be damned. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, good luck to your Purdue Boilermakers, by the way, who knocked the Utah State Aggies out of the NCAA tournament last year.
Josh Edey. I was a big dude.
Yeah, Zach Edey's a
Oh,
beast.
Zach Edey, not Josh Edey.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I knew
One of the
we knew
Edeys.
who you were talking about. Yeah, what? If there's more? Are they building an Edey army?
I just
We don't
seen
need more Edeys.
a video. Isn't
It's
there like a
Canadian.
kid that's 7'9" or something like
Yeah,
that?
plays for Florida.
That made Shaq look like a baby.
Yeah, they took the picture. I was on social media.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
It is pretty insane. I don't know if the kid can actually play, but
Yeah, these big people are taking over, man.
yeah, I don't know what's in the water at some places, but
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. Producing a lot of freaks, and they all play sports. So, again, I want to thank Mike Folta for joining us, Utah Hockey Club Radio play-by-play. You'll hear that game right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone on Thursday, just like you'll hear every game because we are the home of the Utah Hockey Club. All right, we got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Utah football. Going to get Sly's reaction to Jason Beck's remarks yesterday about this new Utah offense. It's got to be good, and they're going to hope that it's good behind Jason Beck. We'll get into that next. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The name of this song is True Believers by the Bouncing Souls. We'll let it play out a little bit.
We believe.
Because it rocks. That's one reason. Two, it fits into what I'm about to talk about in this segment with Sly. Do you believe in Utah's new offensive coordinator if you're a Utah fan? Do you believe in the new scheme? Going to more of a spread offense. Do you believe in Devin Dampier? Do you believe in Wayshawn Parker? Do you believe in all these things? Because this is new change. This is big change. Are you a true believer?
I'm going to give you the realest answer you probably don't want to hear, but like whatever. It's real, though. You don't have another choice. You better believe, dang it.
There you go.
You don't have any other choice. This is what it is. This is what's coming on. Get behind it. Get excited for it. Utah, you got veteran coaches that are making veteran decisions up there, bringing guys in that's going to make things happen. I like the moves that they've made, the contributions that they'll get. I love the coaching staff up there to be able to trust them to get this done. If there's a coaching staff that'll get this done, I don't think there's a coach out there that I think could come in and really give me confidence to turn things around outside of this coaching staff here. So I like that as an offensive coordinator come in, and I want to make sure that he understands his coaching personnel and he's comfortable with that, which, you know, we all know Coach Harding's a great coach. Atuaya is a great coach at Washington State, helped bring in Wayshawn Parker, which is good. He brought in Devin Dampier. I think those are essential. Listening to the press conference, it starts up front, right?
Yeah.
And offensive line to QB and then out after that. And so I think those things being in place and solid is a great start, man. So I believe right now I don't have another choice. And I wholeheartedly want to believe. I think this is definitely the best offense going forward.
Before we get into a couple cuts, I wanted to get now that you've had a chance to hear from Coach Beck, Sly, what was your reaction to what he said yesterday about what this offense is going to be, why he's here, what he hopes to accomplish? Well,
I'm hoping that he's a lot more energized than his tone is. For one, he gives me the Will Hardy kind of the tone in his interviews. But, here nor there, I just want a brainiac, somebody that's very aggressive.
I think you're getting that with Coach Beck.
Yeah, not afraid to score points, man. And so I don't want comfortability. I don't want to try things out. I want to be on the attack. every single time. I know my team is good at doing this, and I know we can take advantage of the defense doing this, and I do that the entire game. I'm not experimenting. I really don't care about my opponent next week. I want to win right now, this week, right now. We'll worry about the opponent next week when that comes. That's the mentality that I want to have. So if he can bring that aggressive mindset and play calling and instill that energy and that love, right? I just didn't feel like the players last year loved the plays that were called.
Yeah, that was evident. Right.
And so if you can get the players to love the plays that were called, because I remember leaving the huddle, right? Offensively in high school, defensively in professional. And when Dick LeBeau or Coach Anderson Kalani calls a play, I'm like, ooh, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna do good. That's the kind of energy you want to have leaving the huddle.
Yeah.
Like I want these receivers, these running backs, these O-line get excited about the play that's called. I didn't feel that from Utah last year, and I'm hoping Beck can bring that to this offense.
Let's hear from Coach Beck first off about Devin Dampier following him from New Mexico. How does it feel to have Dampier coming to Utah with him?
That was very positive, just in terms of he knows we'll tweak some things and adapt some things, but yeah, he's already up and running, so he's been in it for a year. So just his example to help the other guys or to show what it's supposed to look like at a high level for the other guys to come around and how that permeates throughout the offensive guys is a big positive. As well as I know him, the other quarterbacks here, I'm going to really need to get to know them and what their strengths are and how to help them. Where with Dev, I have that history of knowing him at a really high level, so you're already starting from that point. You're starting from a year in with a person, which is a huge advantage.
So it's telling, in my opinion, Sly. Dampier had a lot of options because New Mexico's offense was 4th in the country last year. He had 19 touchdown rushes, not total, running as a quarterback. He had another 12 as a quarterback, as a passer. We've talked about how that's got to go up. His ratio's got to get better there. That's the room for improvement. But you're not going to find a better dual threat quarterback in the nation. He was the number one quarterback in the portal, outside of maybe Meyer at Washington State. But I'd even argue, I think he's more dynamic than Meyer, right? You saw late in the game that the Beck kid goes to Miami out from Georgia. I don't love him. I think Utah got one of, if not the best portal quarterbacks. Right. And now he's not 6'3", 220 pounds. There's a reason why he was under-recruited. There's a reason why he was at New Mexico. He's on the smaller side, but he brings a lot of those things. But I think the most impressive thing, and this tells me a lot about Coach Beck, is Dampier would not have followed him here. He would have not come here because he had other options. He came here because he believes in what Jason Beck is doing, and he believes he's going to get even better in the system, which is going to help him reach his goals. That's the positive thing. You see it all the time. Assistant coaches, offensive coordinators leave, and now with the portal, you don't always see those guys follow their offensive coordinator. That's interesting. Why would they not? Right? He did.
I was thinking about this all week, especially coming in today. And it's just hard, right? As an athlete, you got to have ego. You got to have kind of a sense of confidence that nobody can shake, right? I bet you more than 95% of the guys that transfer out or leave think that I can fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
Just plug and play me, I can do it, right? And that's just not reality. How often do I say when we're going over draft previews, it's about the right situation?
How many of the guys in the transfer portal that came to Utah last year didn't work out?
Right.
And I think that contributed to the 5-7 season.
Right.
Where's Damian Alford?
Biggest stat line. Right, is 0 for 1 is passing as a receiver, and it's an interception. That's his stats for the year. No catches, maybe 2 targets for the year.
I don't.
And he's 6'6", 220-pound receiver, and that's his only stats for the entire year.
Carson Ryan in and out.
Right, and so and that's one thing that across all sports right now is you really got to make sure these guys are evaluating people the right way, right?
Yeah.
Who's the best evaluators right now? The Kansas City Chiefs, right? I did not think Kingsley Suamataia would be able to do what he's been able to do and start the first game of the year.
Right,
start the first game of the year for the Kansas City Chiefs to go on 15-1 throughout the season. That's crazy. and he contribute, right? Like, so, like evaluating talent, bringing them in, making sure they fit what's going on, and you actually utilizing that talent, right? And so we severely underachieved in that aspect last year.
You're not going to want to hear this right now, but I'm going to be very honest. BYU nailed that.
Oh.
BYU killed it with that.
You ain't got to tell me about it. I know it.
Their talent evaluation and their development and
their utilization.
And their utilization is exactly the word I was looking for, was outstanding, which is why they were so good this past season, why they were able to turn around from a 5-7 season to an 11-win season. That's what Utah's about to try to do. And I don't know if I don't know if they're smart enough to take a look at that and pull some of that stuff out of what they did, but you don't have to look very far to see how a team can turn around really quickly. Continuity, number one, which Utah, I think they wish they had more of, but if your continuity wasn't good last year, I guess you need to change it. But there is some continuity with the coordinator and the quarterback.
And the defense.
And the running backs coach and your new running back, right? There's continuity. Yeah. Even though it wasn't on your team last year, there is continuity there that they're bringing in.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I like that too. That's a good relationship, because one thing that Beck didn't say is that Dampier, of course, knows the system that's known, but like he can be a coach out on the field. Not just a coach out on the field, but he's your general. He knows what it's supposed to look like, what it feels like. He can tell guys what exactly they're supposed to do outside of Beck from their perspectives. That is so beneficial. Right? We've seen that these past couple years without Cam Rising in the system, right? And I think that's where Cam Rising thrived, right? He sat, with Tyler Huntley here, got injured that first game in 2020, a 5-game season, and sat, right? Yeah. And was next to and was able to understand and do everything to the point where you bring Charlie Brewer in, but Cam was ready. Right? It was an extreme QB competition, but you just gave it to Charlie Brewer, and Charlie Brewer just wet the bed. And Cam Rising came in without a hitch and took us to a conference championship.
Everything changed the second he went in.
Right? But that experience, a guy on the field knowing what it's supposed to look like and implementing it, is huge. Now, the last 2 years at Utah with Bryson Barnes and Isaac Wilson last year, we didn't have that.
Right.
There was guys who didn't feel comfortable in the system. I mean, one, with Bryson Barnes, you shot his personality by, Bryson Barnes, you did great for us in the bowl games, but like, hey, we're going to make sure that Nate Johnson and you did this. You didn't instill any confidence in him being the guy. So that whole year, Bryson Barnes' heart, he's one of my favorite guys because of that. But that was a shot year. And then you bring a kid who just graduated a couple months before and leading the program literally from week 2. And so, like, it's just it was a bad situation for Utah these past couple of years. But Devin Dampier being in there will be extremely beneficial for everybody else.
One more real quick from Coach Beck talking about how his scheme, will it fit with Utah's culture?
We start with who the guys are, and then it's all about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And so the execution is the what, but with the culture, it's all about how. The competitiveness, the spirit, the heart, the fight. And so, man, we coach that out of our guys just as much as we do the execution side of things. Because we want, every play, it's do I get the job done against the guy I'm going against at the highest level. So that competitive spirit, which I've appreciated about this program over all these years, it's evident, tough guys, playing physical, playing hard. That's what it's all about.
Love that.
Okay.
Right?
What's your reaction to
that? I love that because that's what it is. It's what it's all about. It's like, can you fight?
Yeah.
You're not going to have a perfect situation every single time, but can I count on you to fight?
Yeah.
Right? Can I count on you not to quit before the game starts? Can I count on you not to quit once you hear the play? Are you going to fight? No matter what. Even if it's a crappy play call, are you going to make it work? Right? Yeah, it's an HB dive on Madden right now, right? Maybe the defense knows it. But can you execute it to make it successful? Fight. Yeah. Who cares?
Can you get 4 yards on that?
Can you get 4 yards on that, right? And so, like...
That's all you need to win football games, by the way.
If
you average 4 yards per play, you're going to win.
That's a touchdown every drive.
Exactly. You're going to win a lot of games.
I mean, I love that aspect, love that mentality, and I also love that he's like, I've recognized that about this program from the outside. That's the culture that is expressed nationally that everybody else knows about this. Even him as the team down south of the Blue Guys player of what he's understood about this program, right? That is the culture. And so, like, coming in, you just know that and know that you want to express that in your type of offense is just great, and I think that fits.
He's learned from Bronco Mendenhall. He's learned from Robert Anai. He's learned from several coaches. Now he's being adopted into this Coach Whittingham coaching tree, which I think is going to help him become even better at what he's done. And his track record so far is good. And I think there's every reason to believe in Jason Beck as the new offensive coordinator. And I think he's a perfect combination along with this quarterback, Devin Dampier, who could be really, really electric. I think Utah fans should be really excited about what happens, but we have to see it on the field first. That'll start in spring, which is not that far away. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to this show, JJ and Alex, for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, and it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. It's a great opportunity to celebrate people in your community that are making a difference for your kids. Be sure to go to that contest page on kslsports.com. Make sure that they get recognized. We desperately want to do so, and there is opportunities for you to do that. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, some local names heading to the College Football Hall of Fame. We'll show you who next on JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex, with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We're going to give away some tickets, Alex. Let's do it. Get your phone ready. Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE to win a pair of tickets to Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow, coming this summer to the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 15th. Tickets go on sale this Friday, livenation.com. But win them right now. Chris Stapleton. You got to see him live. I have. He's outstanding. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. The 12th caller wins the tickets. All right, slide real quick. The latest College Football Hall of Fame class has been announced. Nick Saban headlines the class along with Michael Vick and former Utah head coach Urban Meyer. Now, it's hard to believe, but Utah does not have a lot of players that have been inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. In fact, they have one.
Only one?
One. Any guess on who that is?
I mean, our only number one overall pick in the NFL draft.
That's right. And it just happened.
And that doesn't mean that you get to go to Hall of Fame, but that's a big indicator right there.
He had a great career at Utah and led the team to be the first BCS Busters. Alex Smith certainly has his place in the Hall. He was a part of the class of 2024. Ike Armstrong, the legendary coach, class of 1957. Those are the only two Utes that are in. Utah State represented by Merlin Olsen, the class of 1980, and legendary coach Dick Romney back in the class of 1954. BYU has several.
They got big names down
Ty
there.
Detmer, Jim Young, Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Gifford Nielsen, Lavelle Edwards, Gordon Hudson. A lot of those guys from that era of BYU football. But they don't have any new, fresh names. Real quick, and I'll also shout out to Haloti Ngata, one of my favorite guys.
Is he in?
He's in this class. He is just being inducted in the class of 2025. So congratulations to Haloti Ngata, one of the all-time greats from here. There's no doubt about that.
Locals,
but well-deserved. We won't mention the school he went to, but he went to Oregon. I can do it. I have the strength.
Yeah, it's not as bad as the Blue Guys, but it's just playing. He left us.
The rivalry lives on forever.
Oh, okay.
So before we go, I wanted to get your quick take, real quick. What player that played at Utah should be the next Ute in the Hall of Fame?
It's College Football Hall of Fame.
College football, just college football.
I mean, one, you got to understand what's the criteria.
Luther Ellis is not in, by the way.
That's what's crazy. Luther Ellis in the NFL and even especially in college, he was just a great player, and he's definitely one that just jumps at you. But, other guys like, what about Larry Wilson?
Right.
He's
in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right. And so, like, to not in college, that's just crazy to me. I want to see how Eddie Johnson's stats kind of match up there.
He certainly has the longevity, but those teams weren't very good. I don't think it got the love it deserved.
You got to have a balance of wins.
Love Eddie, but I think that's part of the deal.
Yeah. I mean, Alex Smith's teammate, Jordan Gross, man.
Yes.
He was a huge
consensus All-American.
His
first-round pick.
NFL career, right? I remember playing against him, man. I'm like, he's just been one of the stable, and I just couldn't imagine what he was like in college. It was just crazy. But he had success at Utah and in the pros, and I would say he's probably one of the top that's on my list as well.
I'll give you one more. Eric Weddle needs to be in.
Honestly, Eric's one of my favorites. I was so happy that I got to play 1 year with him.
Yeah.
Getting to know him, and then just learning how to be a playmaker, around that guy, and just his confidence and what he brought to the table. But you just look at what he did, right, as a true freshman, sophomore. Fiesta Bowl, shutting down Calvin Johnson's junior year, and then his senior year he's All-American as well, without a doubt. Right, him, Louis Sakota. Those are some guys who have leverage to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'll throw out a couple BYU names real quick that should be. How is Jason Buck not in the College Football Hall of Fame? He won an Outland Trophy. He was one of the fiercest sack guys in the 80s. And Dennis Pitt, I think, should eventually get that nod, and Luke Staley as well as a Doak Walker Award winner. And for Utah State, Bobby Wagner needs to be the next Aggie that's inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Hands down.
So let's hope that happens soon. But congratulations to Lodi Nata, Urban Meyer, part of that Hall of Fame class in the College Football Hall of Fame. All right, when we come back, you'll hear from Morgan Scalley, Utah's coach in waiting, defensive coordinator, on the changes that have taken place and what's he going to do with his defense coming up in 2025. All that coming up next on JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Little Jimi Hendrix. Does it bring us into the 5 o'clock hour?
Jimmy!
It's a good way to go here. You can't go wrong with some Jimi Hendrix.
If you don't like Jimmy, something's wrong with you.
No doubt. You need to get yourself checked. Shame on you. 5:10 along the Wasatch Front. JJ and Alex, Jeremiah Jensen, Stevenson, Sylvester with you. This portion of the show is brought to you by G2G Bars with all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein. G2G Bars are perfect for anyone who needs a tasty and nutritious boost. Also, Trajan Wealth. Give them a call today, your local financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at trajanwealth.com. Yesterday, we heard from Morgan Scalley, and now today we have time to play that for you. That is the cut at 5 o'clock.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
So the Utah football program held a press conference yesterday to introduce new offensive coordinator Jason Beck, but it was also an opportunity to ask questions of Kyle Whittingham and also the Utes coach in waiting and defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley. Of course, Morgan Scalley was very involved in the process of hiring a new offensive coordinator, as this hire is likely to be his offensive coordinator once he becomes the head coach. So it was important to hear from Morgan Scalley yesterday. Let's listen in on what he had to say.
I feel good. I'll feel better after spring. Spring's really where you find out where your depth is. And I think we did a really good job of evaluating needs in both the portal. Also got a JC transfer in Jeremiah Caldwell. Love the addition of length. That's such a huge benefit in this defense, as much man coverage as we play. So Blake Cotton, Donovan Saunders, and Jeremiah Caldwell, all 6'2 plus. So really excited for this group. I loved the progress of Scooby Davis throughout last season. Smith Snowden's a guy that you're probably going to see outside this year as well. He's a guy that should not leave the field as good as he is. And so I just look at the guys that we have returning. Sammy Hunter, Jason Stokes is a freshman that came in. Dion Mays is a guy that we love. So, this happens every year. Oh, you lost this guy, you lost that guy. How are you going to? And every year, I think we've proven that we can do a pretty good job of reloading. Well, I love every player that comes into this program that sacrifices and gives and buys into this culture. You love them, and when they leave this program, you hope they go on to be the men that you've taught them to be. And at the same time, my job is to develop the guys that we have in this program, and I do a disservice to them by spending much time on guys that aren't a part of our team anymore. I love our defensive tackles. You look at Dallas Vakalahi, he's a true freshman, and what he did. Very active, very productive. Aliki Vimahi's going to be back, which is a huge plus. He provides leadership and some senior leadership at that. Jonalea Ea is a guy that we've been fighting to put on the weight. And man, he's finally got there. So this is one of the most athletic defensive linemen that we have, and really excited for his length and athleticism to show up with the added weight. And then all the freshmen that are coming in, we're excited about all of them. Usually, if you're going to play as a freshman, physically you have to be ready, mentally you have to be ready. Two things that keep people from playing as true freshmen really is are they physically ready and mentally capable, and that's our job, is to coach them up. But all of those freshmen, every single one of them coming to this program, you're not going to have to spend a whole lot of time putting weight on. So we're fired up.
Coach, I'd be curious, you already kind of talked about Smith, but Smith and Teo specifically, and Scooby too, what is the next step in their sort of progression?
I would say become compelling. Bring others along with you. The great ones that we've had, the Devin Lloyds, the Clark Phillips, the Cole Bishops, Johnny Vaught, they brought others with them. They weren't just focused on their development. They were bringing other guys with them. Come in the room. Let's go. Let's work our steps. Let's watch film together. So I think leadership is going to be the next step for those guys, and they've already done some of that, but. You get as many new faces as we have, you have to have leadership, and those leaders gotta be compelling. Having Levani back is huge. I think his biggest concern was making sure that he got his jersey number back, number 3, and so John O'Hall had to give that one up, but love the progression of Jonathan Hall, moving him to linebacker. He's going to be a star in this league. Lander continued to work through his rehab as the season went on. He's going to be 100%. So you lose a guy like Krenny, again, you're going to lose seniors, you're going to lose guys to transfers, but that's our job as coaches is to coach them up. It's to develop and teach, and you've got one of the best teachers here at the University of Utah, Colton Swan. He's done a great job with those guys. Love the depth that we have at linebacker, the influx of athletic freshmen. We could spend all day talking about the new faces, but I'm zero issues with the linebacker depth.
Coach, we've talked a lot about the Big 12. What did you learn about the offenses in the Big 12 and how you better defend them next season?
There wasn't much difference between the Pac-12 to the Big 12. I'd say the biggest difference it was probably at the quarterback level. Now that was, maybe an anomaly, but last year you faced 3 first-round draft picks all starting in the NFL right now. So they've got good quarterbacks in the Big 12, but when you go up against Penix and Nix and Caleb Williams in one year, that's a huge deal. So very physical offenses, good coaches. That's what you would expect in a Power 4 conference, and that's what we have. Well, I just think that players in the past have left your program because they felt like they wanted a new opportunity to play. Now it's for different reasons outside of that. My job is continue to maintain and strengthen the culture that we have. I truly believe that culture does matter, and for those that it doesn't matter to, that's okay. and we're going to get the right guys in this program. We have very good support. We have very good NIL. And, another thing is people want to donate money to good people, good programs. We've got a very good program. Kyle Whittingham has done nothing but establish class and doing it the right way. And so that's why, in my opinion, we should not have an issue raising money.
Morgan, I think you had 1 year overlap with Jason Beck when you guys were both playing. We're just curious about your relationship with him, and what do you think he's going to bring to this offense that you're going to have to practice against every day?
I remember nothing about it. All I know is, I'm always watching offense, and as a part of the offseason, I watched a ton of his offense, and I love it. It creates problems for defensive coordinators for a multitude of reasons. The formations into the boundary, the shifts in motions, the QB run game, a lot of these things, changing personnel groups as you go throughout a series, all that, causes defensive coordinators to really have to put in the work. And so I'm so fired up for this offense, for the quarterback coming in, Devin, and then the QB depth that we have. So it's going to be interesting this spring going up against a new offense, because I love Andy and what he brought and his offensive scheme, but excited for this change.
And for a couple more. Easier to recruit in Texas now that you're in Big 12?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Morgan, I'm curious about what you need to see from Rabbit this offseason as he continues to develop into the safeties room.
Well, the number one thing was developing his body, and he's done that. I mean, usually you can tell how much it matters to a player based on what they do in their downtime. He came back bigger, stronger on his own. So he's already looking very explosive. His knowledge of the defense is only going to get better. He's going to be elite, in my opinion. So, good question.
There you go. That's Utah defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley yesterday, meeting with the media. We have about 8 or 9 minutes, Slide. I want to get your reaction from what you heard, just your overall take from what Morgan talked about in that press conference.
That is not enough time.
I understand that. Can you try?
One, I loved him getting on and talking about all these guys, talking about all the issues, everything that's going on. He alluded to, he hit it on, from our offense, the NIL, the transfer portal, guys that are coming in, guys that are in the program, the different position groups, from the D-line, linebackers, DB rooms, instilling that confidence in me and what he has in these guys that are part of our roster. Oh, that just gets me excited, right? Yeah. I'm a big believer in defense wins championships. One, Morgan Scalley knows how to do it. Right, I think he said it, man, because at the beginning he's like, oh, we lose guys and everybody has questions like, how are you going to retool? And they do it every time. So he has ultimate confidence in him getting the defense where it needs to be a top-tier defense. And that is all we need. That confidence is awesome, man. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to break down in there. I love it. We can start at the top with a couple of the new guys that came in that he's excited about, right? Like, he's saying that he's got 6'2 plus, 3'6'2 plus new additions to this defense. I don't know if guys know that, but that is huge in the corner position room to have a 6'2", 6'3" corner that can move. That's essentially having 3 Sean Smiths, 3 Jemiah Vaughns on your defense, on your cornerback rooms to rotate, right? That's awesome. That's a huge addition. And, I mean, you got to have ultimate confidence in Sharif Shah and Morgan Scalley to do it. They've gotten so many draft picks over these last 15 years, those two alone, to do it. So these guys coming in, they understand that. I love it. And then we can go to culture and impact. I think that he understands that. Coach Whittingham said that there's with high school recruits, transfer portals, new guys coming in, there's 50 new guys on the roster. That's literally a 45-50% roster flip.
Wow.
Of new faces. That's a big percentage.
That could be perceived as a negative, though. Just
yeah.
being devil's advocate here.
Or you look
Last
at it,
year they had the same problem, and it was a bad thing.
Right. You look at the year we had last year, and you say maybe that's needed, right? Let's purge all the bad juices from last year, and let's get a fresh start. Keep the guys who want to invest in this program, which I think they have. I think the guys that didn't want to invest here and didn't believe in the future of this, who weren't Utah men, are gone. And so, you keep this guy in here. You got superstars in Lander Barton. He is a superstar. And as you said it, as Morgan said, he said Lander was getting healthy all year. So he wasn't 100%, and I saw that. Yeah. And I'm like, what is Lander doing?
You and I had conversations every weekend. You come in on Sunday, and I was like, where's Lander Barton?
Yeah. And I was saying it. I'm just like, I'm more pissed off because I get to watch him. I'm just like, he's doing things that I just know he knows how to do. Yeah. And just to know that when you're injured, your mental confidence messes up everything else, your technique, your timing, all of that stuff. So, and you see it at the end of the year, he became better, right? That first interception at the beginning of the game in Colorado. The very next week, I literally talked to him before the game. I'm like, bro, if you don't take this thing into the end zone, I'm going to slap you myself. And he just laughed. Next thing you know, he gets an 80-yard touchdown against Iowa State. Yeah. Right? And he just got better at the end of the season.
That's the Lander Barton we expected to see.
That's the Lander Barton we ended to see. And Morgan said that he's going to come in the offseason healthy. That's huge. So you got your dog, 5-star guy coming in who's going to establish culture right off the back. You've invested in Levani Damuni, absolute stud, and was missed this year, right? As a rotational guy when Corinne Reed went down. Corinne Reed was significantly missed this year. With Lander Barton being injured, not playing up to Lander Barton's standard, and Corinne being out too, we suffered defensively as a whole because of it. And so Levani Damuni is going to be an instant guy who knows the defense, understands it as a veteran, and can get it done because we've seen it already in this program. So absolutely love that. Jonah Hall, of course, a rising stud. A lot of things to learn from this past year, but he's got a lot of experience this year. So love that. And the leadership, what I really liked him saying is the next stages in guys like Teo Johnson, Smith Snowden, Lander Barton, Damuni, Logan Fano is to bring everybody else along. You guys know the system. You guys know the culture. You guys know the off season, how everything is supposed to go. Bring everybody else along. That helps you. By you going over the basics with everybody else helps you establish your foundation even more. It actually, look at that as a positive for your growth by going over and helping and bringing everybody along, because everybody knows true success is when everybody is on the same level, right? So if you're bringing everybody up on the same level, that just only inherits success for your team. And I absolutely loved him saying that. And that's what he's going to be preaching to those guys in the system. And of course, there wasn't a big conference difference, I agree with him. Defensively, I don't think we had a problem, this year.
You just didn't execute.
Yeah, we talked about that all year too. It's just our execution. Plays were there, players are there. Our execution wasn't there, right? So you can bring in all the guys in the world, but can you execute at the end of the day? And so again, purging the roster with guys that didn't want to be here, aka Tanavasa, and getting the right guys in the program is ever so important. Right? The right guys who are hungry. We talked about it with the Jason Beck segment of, maybe that's not the right play, but who cares? Right? Maybe it's not the right situation. Maybe our offense can't score in the red zone. Who cares? Are you hungry enough? Are you a dog? Do you have enough energy to go make it happen no matter the situation? Those are the right guys. Those are Utah men, and I look forward to that and more guys being a part of the system. I don't care what it is. I just enjoy the game, and I think those are guys that Morgan Scalley loves and wants to, instill in his program. Yeah. And then the Jason Beck statement, right? Yeah. Being involved in the Jason Beck hire.
That was a big endorsement. You could tell.
Yeah. Not just an endorsement. I felt it. Yeah. I felt it was genuine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I can definitely cipher through when people are like doing a PR. Yeah. I got to be politically correct about it. That was a genuine statement. I said it in the other segment. It's like, I love an offense that comes with a pro-style approach. It's very simple to figure out for me. There's not much there's so many things that give me tall tales of what's going on. But when you go to a spread offense, and Morgan Scalley was saying the different looks from the different personnels and spreading them out and utilizing people in different ways, you make the defense have to worry and game plan about stuff that may not even happen, right? That's what we expected with all the talent we had last year offensively, right? And so here, I think he really loves what, Jason Beck was able to do, as you said, top 5 offense just a year ago with New Mexico. And if he's able to bring that here, Morgan's a guy that understands the trajectory of college football and what's successful. As a defensive coordinator, I know what I hate to game plan against. So I hope my offense can do that for other people. And that's what it is. And especially after spending your first year in the Big 12, you know what style of offense is going to win. And so, yes, as we can say, we cut down on Devin Dampierre's interceptions, go up on his passing touchdowns. We're going to be dynamic on offense. And it's just going to be amazing things to defend and be around. But also loved his statements about, the development of guys in the program, especially Smith Snowden, guy that should never come off the field.
Yeah,
never
he's
come
gonna
off
have a
the
big
field.
year next year.
Yeah, Rabbit Evans. That what he said about Rabbit Evans is what he's talking about with culture. You're willing to do the work on your own. You don't have to do the work in the facility.
Yeah, you're
coming back willing to be better. And that's what Rabbit Evans shown the trajectory of the season. He said just in the month that he was gone from the team, he came back bigger and stronger. And this is just January. So development, and you need that from multiple guys in the program, and you're going to have success. So I love that.
Let me mention one thing real quick that he mentioned that you haven't brought up. He seemed very, very confident about NIL funds. Like, he obviously knows things we don't. If there was a big panic, like what did Alabama have to do a couple months ago? Their athletic director had to send out a public letter asking Alabama fans to donate to the collective and help them with NIL, that they were behind, basically. And I think Alabama's feeling a lot of pressure because what they used to be able to do under the table is now being done over the top of the table, and they suddenly can't match what other schools are doing. Well, Morgan Scalley, who's going to be the future head coach of this program, feels very confident that they have the NIL that they need to compete where they want to compete. And I think that should be very reassuring for Utah fans, especially after the Keanu Tanavasa situation. Seeing a player leave for a rival, and he said he had his reasons. You didn't like hearing it. I got to take him for his word.
Still, even to this day, still.
That's
all right.
That's what he said. I'm not gonna,
It doesn't matter.
But he's also not gonna. I trust that a lot of it was money. Okay, we're human beings. So
make the best decision for yourself.
Utah fans panicked a little bit, thinking, "Why is BYU beating us for these kids?" When it comes to NIL money,
right?
Well, Morgan Scalley essentially, I don't think he was meaning. Maybe he did. Maybe that was directly what he wanted to say and wanted to give confidence for. But he's very confident that Utah fans, they have people that are willing to pay money, and they're willing to pay money to good people. And as long as they keep this culture going, and I think, to be quite honest, I'm not going to bring up any names, but I think some money was going to some people that maybe didn't fit that bill.
You can bring up names. It's fine.
I'm not going to do it. That they've filtered out some of the stuff, and
right.
they know where they need to go with it, and they're going to be much more deliberate with who they give it to, but
right.
the money's there to be given. They're going to go to a more NFL-style way of distributing income.
And that's Morgan's personality.
Right.
And so I like that. So I heard what you're saying, and like what I took from him saying that was he's not scared of coaching, right?
Right.
And this is how you know.
And players that come into his program better not be scared of coaching.
Right. And this is what I'm hoping. I'm telling you, when the business takes over, you better beware. But like, this is how you know the system is messed up. When in your wildest dreams do you think Alabama would be asking its fans for more money? The donors, the people that come through there, and this is how you know NIL is messed up.
Yeah.
You're just paying guys to literally do nothing. You're asking for more money every
right.
single year. I really want to know the amount of money collected. I hope there's some research nerds that will go to each university and see how much money was spent and go to all the collectives.
What was their return on investment?
Right? On all, I really want to see that. I want to see that spreadsheet. I want to crunch the numbers on those things because that's going to be so important. They're literally just giving it away like Oprah sweepstakes. It's like you're not getting anything from it, and it sucks. So what I took from Scalley was that the money that we're going to get guys, whether we get the $2 million quarterback, the $700,000 receiver, we're probably not going to get those, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? I want guys that are going to be dogs. Like we said in the other segment, can I turn this 2-star into a 4-star? And that's what I mean by he not being afraid of coaching.
And it'll be curious to see if they do that. It'll be curious to see if they can succeed in that way in this new era.
I'm telling you, it's
because
possible.
There's so much pressure to just use your money to go out and buy a player.
Right.
And I think we're seeing mixed results around the country, not just here in Utah.
Right.
All right, we got to take a quick break. NFL Blitz is next on JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go. It's the NFL Blitz, your NFL news on this Wednesday. Later on this week, Sly and I are going to break down the playoff matchups in the divisional in both the AFC and NFC. Give our picks. We won't do that yet. We're going to save that. We got 2 full days to do that. But can't wait to break that down with Sly. Right now, we're going to talk about the news of the day. And I think everybody was curious, which NFL team was going to be in the Berlin game in 2025? It's the Colts, by the way. They'll be the home team. But Sly, why do we care? The league, I get what they're doing. They want to market the game overseas and grow it, make it popular. Are they wasting their time? What's the point of having a game in Berlin and Sao Paulo, Brazil, and London and other places?
I don't agree. I think I don't think they're wasting their time. Expanding the game is huge. You've seen what it does to the NBA.
But they've been doing this for years, and it's not really expanding, is it?
I mean, the fandom is. And that's what you really want, right? And so, like, 1 or 2 games a year, I think how they're doing the schedule, I think sucks. I think they're 1 game a week, I think is not good. But I think if they could get 5 games a year, abroad, I don't disagree with that. I think you're getting fandom across the world. And this is more business than anything.
I get that. I understand.
And so what I don't like about it is the short weeks for teams to go over there and do that, because that flight sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Is it how disruptive is it to a team's season to have to go over there?
Right. And so
the Jags sometimes, I think they played twice in London.
I've seen them play like 2 in a season, 2-3 times in a season, just the Jags alone. And I'm just like, what the heck? And so, like, that sucks. Is that aspect, if they can coordinate that better to work better with bowl games, not bowl games, with bye weeks and Thursday night games, I think that needs to be more of something that they pay attention to. So I wouldn't do as many games as they do per year abroad. But hey, this is an economic thing for them, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think there's probably a better way to do it.
Next, we move to the mistake by the lake, Cleveland.
Oh.
Sly's favorite NFL franchise, the Browns.
The Brownies.
The Browns continue to Browns. What are they doing now? Well, they're getting sued by Cleveland. The team is getting sued by Cleveland, the city of Cleveland, over a proposed stadium move to the suburbs. So apparently there were some law. There's a law called the Modell Law, which was evoked and put into law after Art Modell moved the Browns to Baltimore and became the Ravens back in the day. And now the team is looking for a new stadium site, and they have a site that they want to go to in the suburbs. The city doesn't like that, and they're invoking that law. And so the Browns intend to build a $2.4 billion state-of-the-art stadium and entertainment complex in Brook Park. It's 15 miles away from Cleveland, and it's south of Cleveland. They don't want that to happen. So their lease is up in 2028. So what a mess.
Yeah, it serves them right. Skid marks.
We did this whole thing just to set up Sly to do that.
Hey, if you know this rivalry, I hated going to the dog pound.
That was nasty, Sly.
Well, the Browns are nasty. The fans, this whole freaking people, all the players know. You want your career to end, you're going to Cleveland. Like if you want to try to get your last few million, you go to Cleveland to make that happen. That's where careers go to die. And hopefully they change things around one day. They make some good decisions and bring some good people in. But forever skid marks to me.
Could not have been said better by a true Steeler. Stevenson Sylvester on the Cleveland Browns. Take that, Cleveland. Micah Parsons calls Mike McCarthy's Cowboys exit, quote, devastating. Is it? Is he serious?
I look at that. Like Micah Parsons has some good sound bites this year, talking about his promise and being able to still make the playoffs and all that. Like, bro, your season's gone. Like, just stop. So he's had good sound bites. Things need to be mixed up, but I think there's just so much uncertainty within that organization and things going around that. Mike McCarthy, who's been there, especially during Micah Parsons' success, now he's gone. You just don't know what's next.
Maybe that's just all he knows. But it's clear that the Cowboys were not going in the right direction.
Right,
and Micah, you'll be fine. You actually, I don't know though. Jerry Jones has struggled to find the right coach that's going to fit there and have success. They always underperform. But
if it was up to him, he'd coach. It is up to him.
Yeah, I think Jerry would actually if he could. But real quick notes as we go out. Cowboys are expected to interview former Jets coach Robert Saleh. The Jets announced an interview with Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, and Arthur Smith is set to interview with the Bears Wednesday and the Jets Thursday. That's your coaching update in the NFL. We got to take a break. When we come back, best and worst. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
Best and worst brought to you by Doug Smith Dealerships, Dodge, Ram, Chevrolet, Subaru, Kia in Linden, and now Mitsubishi in American Fork. Our best today, the NCAA approves paying women's basketball tourney teams. A lot of might be surprised to find out that they weren't doing that.
Yeah, I was surprised.
They weren't. But I think we can, you're going to have your opinions on that, but what happened is women's basketball broke through. That's a star-powered, must-see TV thing, and we watched last year with Caitlin Clark and all the star power they had. I think that's going to continue.
Oh, yeah, the stars they got now. Whew,
do you have the Caitlin Clark effect right now?
To be determined.
But the games are great. It's competitive. There's drama, and you do have some really good players like Paige Beckers and others, and South Carolina's a juggernaut, and we're starting to get to know that. This is how it works.
Yeah.
Once you build a brand and you build something that's good to watch, people will watch it. And this is great for women's college basketball. I love it. They deserve it, and it's good to see it happening. All right, you know what? We deserve a Jazz win tonight. Why not? Jazz are playing the Hornets. The Hornets stink. Jazz aren't playing half their team, but they are playing Keontae George. You can check it out. You can actually listen to the game right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott and the coach, Tim Lacombe, are standing by next with the pregame show.